Hey everybody, this is Geary with AverageOutdoorsman.com. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of duck calling. We're going to talk about some of the basics. And what I want to do with this video, I've asked my good friend and longtime hunting buddy, Chris Stallins, to join me in this. What I really want to do is, I want to tackle some of the basic stuff. Everything from how you hold the call to where you put the call to your mouth. For anybody that's just now picking up a duck call, I want to give them something they can look at. And then I kind of want to talk about some of the scenarios, when you call, when you don't call, because we've seen a lot of people that are really good callers, but they don't know when to do it.
Good callers flare a lot of ducks.
So what we want to do is we want to talk a little bit about the really basic stuff, but then we want to talk about some more stuff that somebody that's been hunting for 15, 20 years like us can use too. Because there's a lot of things out there that people just don't realize, they don't know, nobody's ever told them. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. Now, whenever you're in a duck blind, your calling is a lot different than if you're just playing around with it. You don't get as loud, you don't do as much crazy stuff as you might just sitting in your truck or at your house. But one thing never changes: how you hold the call. So whenever you go to grab a call off your landing, well, how do you like to hold it?
My thumb and point finger. Just hold it like this, make a half C. That way you still got your airflow comes out through your barrel, but also you can come down and restrict your airflow throughout the call.
Right. And I think that's probably the most common way that people hold the call. I see a lot of people, I do it a lot myself. I bring two hands up on it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
But the C is still there.
Yes, exactly. There's some people that will also close it, and that's what hurts them when they don't know any better. They'll go ahead and close it and make a full fist around it.
And it creates a lot of back pressure. And your call, it restricts your sound, creates a lot of back pressure. So that open hand, that C grip, is what we're looking for there. Now, I was taught as a kid, whenever I put the call over my mouth, like I was drinking out of a Coke bottle. On the bottom lip, it's resting, and then press it to the top lip. Very similar to that right there. I've seen a lot of guys that kind of pucker on it, and you can do that. The problem with that is you really got to pay attention to how much air you're putting into the call. You can put way too much air into it, and depending on what call you're blowing, a call with a lot of back pressure, a small bore call like this, creates a lot of back pressure. You can really put too much air into it and make it squeak pretty easy.
That's exactly right.
Now, the basic thing that everybody wants to learn how to do is how to make a quack. Now some people use words. I think it's good to use words into the call,
especially for beginners. Yes.
So what word do you like to use?
I use wit.
You use wit.
Wit.
I use DeWitt. It's just whatever you prefer. Now, as you move along into it, if you are a beginner and you're just now picking up a call, the word won't be as important 5 years down the road. Once you become a fairly experienced caller, you'll learn what the word's doing is teaching your tongue what to do.
Exactly. As long as whenever you finish a note, as long as your tongue is hitting the roof of your mouth, that's what breaks that note.
And that's why you hear guys say all the time, they use words like kitty, DeWitt, wit,
10.
There's a lot of different words that people use.
Bill Robertson, that's what he teaches is the word 10.
And anything can work. All you're trying to do is get that tongue right. And once you get your tongue right, that pretty much solves everything. So why don't you show us a basic quack there? Now, once you get the basic quack done, you can kill ducks with that. You can sit in the blind and make that sound and kill ducks with it. I mean, that's the basics of it. I mean, if you can make a quack, you can kill ducks. But when you start getting into the later season, ducks start getting a little bit of worry. You need to learn how to put those ducks into a cadence or a string. Some guys call it a string, some guys call it a cadence. I call it a cadence. Doesn't really matter what you call it, but all it is a series of quacks. Now, when you do a series of quacks, you always want to remember that each quack is its own note. Now, you want to break that call before you start the next one. You don't want it all running together. You'll hear guys, when they go to put quacks together, it'll be there's no defined tone in that. And whenever you don't define each individual tone, it runs together.
Yes.
And what you want to do is, your goal, when you're putting a cadence together, is to sound like multiple ducks. Because if you have a group, most people are going to be hunting over average 2 dozen decoys. You're not going to have just one duck usually making noise out there, so you want to sound like more than one duck. So he's going to do a little string call here, little cadence, and pay attention to how he breaks those quacks up. Now, just all I want is just straight quacks. Keep the same tempo, just where they can hear how those quacks are broken up. Right, now that right there is really, in a nutshell, blowing a duck call.
Yes.
Once you have a cadence down, all you're doing from there on, every other call, is moving off of that cadence. Faster, slower.
Once you learn how to quack and put it into a sequence, cadence, that's all there is to it.
Everything else from there, your comeback calls, your hail calls, all they are is louder or faster or slower or softer. I mean, that's really
Practice.
That's really all it is. And we have a lot of people in duck hunting that the first thing they want to do is pick up a duck call, and what do they want to do?
Blow the crap out of it.
They want to let it eat, all right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you got to do that, just to find out what your call can do, because it is important to know what your call can do.
Yes, it is.
Windy conditions, rainy conditions, you really need to know if that call can get out there loud, or if you need to get another one that can get a little bit louder. We both carry several different calls. Each one of them has a purpose. And the next thing that people want to do in beginning duck calling is they want to learn that feed chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
That feed chuckle is everybody's magic note. And how long did we hunt together before I could feed chuckle? A long time.
A pretty good while.
It took me a long time to learn how to do it. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I just had a hard time making that note. It was
with me. I picked up the feed chuckle quick, but for me, it was the high ball that I had the most problem with.
And everybody's going to find some. Very few people pick up a call and get it right off the bat. I've seen it happen. My dad is one of the few that I've ever seen pick it up and instantly, it's like he'd been blowing duck call his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't start duck hunting until he was 35 or so.
Yeah.
And from there, that feed chuckle frustrates a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it causes a lot of people to put their calls down and not feel confident when they pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not confident when you're duck hunting, you're not going to kill ducks. You've got to know when you blow into that call, it's going to make the sound you want it to make. Because if you're doubting yourself, you're never going to get that call where you want it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the feed call. If you're just picking up a call, this is probably not the best thing for you, but I do want you to know that it is a valuable call, but it's not the most important call. Phil Robertson, the man that I've learned more than I could ever possibly begin to tell you about duck hunting from, says if you're hunting over 12 inches of water, feed chuckle is useless.
Exactly.
It's absolutely useless. And very few people are hunting in situations like that. Where the feed chuckle does come in handy is if you're hunting backwater where ducks are really feeding and really feeding hard, it is a great tool. So when you picked up the feed chuckle,
mm-hmm.
Did you use a word?
Ticka.
Use ticka.
Ticka.
Mine was tucka. See, so we're a little bit different there. Tucka was the word that I used, and either one of them will work. All it is that tongue to the roof of the mouth and flicking it back down. Now I'm going to show you this real simple. This is a real simple trick to how I learned how to feed chuckle. Tucka, tucka. Say the word over and over, and I do this before I hunt sometimes, just to get back into the rhythm of it. Tucka, tucka. Then I'll pick the call up and I'll do it real slow. Once I've done that a couple times and I get that feeling back in there, I go maybe 2 or 3 of them together. And I keep feeling that tongue making the proper movement. Once I feel like I've got that sequence down, then you can go ahead and speed it up. And from there, basically, if you can do that, that's going to get you where you need to be at in feed chuckle. You'll be able to speed it up, slow it down. Chris here is a really good feed chuckle. I mean, his feed chuckle is one of the best that I have the privilege of hunting with. It's really good, and he does a great job of speeding it up, slowing it down. So Chris, if you want to do a little bit of feed chuckle, let them hear that.
And doing a feed chuckle, the way I do it is what I use is a machine gun method. It's ticka 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 ticka, and then just let it roll. Once you're able to do that, it kind of goes like this.
that right there is in a nutshell. It's slowing up, speeding up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and adjusting your tempo, and you sound like 2 or 3 different ducks
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. Now, another really effective feed call that I don't think gets used enough, I use it a lot personally, is a cook call.
Yes.
And the cook call doesn't get used, I think, as much as it should, because guys get so in love with their feed chuckle when they get good at it.
When most guys want to just do the Arkansas style feed chuckle, competition, world champ style, just keep letting it roll and roll and roll, and a real duck don't sound like that.
Most of the time, if you're scouting ducks or you slip up on some ducks and you hear them feeding, you're going to hear something that's very similar to. You're going to hear that little intermittent cook call.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear just very, very few times, you'll hear some quacks in there when they're really feeding, and they do that intermittent cook call. And that is, I think, one of the most underused calls that people have that's really easy to do. I mean, it's a simple call.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's really quick. It's really quick to learn, and it's just cook. Just cook, 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 cook. But the key is you want to break those notes up so it sounds. A lot of people call it a slow chuckle, and that's what it is, really. I mean, it's a slow feed chuckle, and it's really important to practice, and it's really important to practice with who you hunt with. When we're sitting in the blind, I might blow on my call for a minute, and Chris be like, "Man, that sounds awful. I don't know what you did there, but don't do it again." And that's really great if you can hunt with somebody that you trust enough to tell you that sort of stuff. It's always going to make you better whenever somebody tells you you're not doing something right and you need to correct it. And I'll listen to this guy anytime it comes to a duck call. That's why I wanted to bring him in for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And, if you feel the need to comment something negative and tell us how terrible we are, I understand that. That's part of being on the internet. You're gonna have people that do that stuff. But if you liked it, feel free to comment. Send me a message on Twitter at Geary_3. And if you want to see another video, we'd be more than happy to make a video. If you want to hear us blow us a, goose call, if you want to hear, a little more advanced duck calling, want to hear us talk about decoy placement, how we like to hunt certain weather conditions or anything like that, we're more than happy to talk about anything that anyone wants to know with, because when it comes to duck hunting, we don't care to talk about it.
No, all we can do is put out what we've got into it. We've learned through the years from other people, and now we get to share that same experience with new beginners, and that's what makes duck hunting.
It's one of those things that you're never going to be a master at. You're never going to kill every duck that comes in. You're never going to call in every duck that comes by. You're never going to have the perfect decoy placement. There's always going to be something that you can improve upon. Now, when you're hunting, you got to remember that you can't be afraid to try new things. I mean, that's just the plain and simple. We had a really great early season this year.
Yes, we did.
We killed several ducks during the early season, and we did a lot of things different than we normally do in the early season. We didn't hunt open water, which was very rare. We were hunting grass mat, a lake that was completely grass mat, didn't look any different than the yard behind us.
Fully covered.
And we killed 6-man limit of blue-winged teal, 5-man limit of wood ducks. It was just one of those things to where we tried new things and it worked out for us. A lot of times we try new things and they don't work out for us. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. If you did, feel free to shoot us a comment, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks a lot, guys.
Happy hunting.